you meet to take a walk down the street while killers be killing and killing and killing. Nailsin News. 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 Where'd all the money go? Ain't nobody gonna know. Do you trust your meat to take a walk down the street while killers be killing and killing and killing? Nailsin News. 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 News.
All right. Good evening. I'm Mr. Nailsin. Apologies to Pat Dixon. I was not at my best. But in spite of all that, let me try to do another stream, you know. It's been a while since I've been able to do a late night one. I did do some morning ones, though. Surprised even myself. But, yeah. But whatever, let's get into these lovely stories that I know you can't wait to hear about. Oh boy, these people. Criminals committing crimes. Yes, criminal crimes. See? Yeah. All right. Let me make sure everything's up to snuff. Oh, damn. Well, I got to have the beg thing, even though it doesn't really work. No one pays me. Jeez. You can't see. It's me. All right, we'll just turn the camera off. What the hell? Anywho, fake dentist accused of targeting Hispanic community and causing injuries, including facial paralysis. So I guess she doesn't have that excuse. Yeah. Well, anyway, a 55-year-old woman stands accused of pretending to be a dentist, operating an illegal business. Oh, and injuring patients. Yeah, that's going to happen sometimes when you don't know what you're doing. So anyway, according to the Suffolk County Police Commissioner, Kevin Catalina, officials received multiple tips that Yolani Carranza had injured patients at a dental practice, including one instance of nerve damage and partial facial paralysis. So she must have really jammed in a needle or something right into the nerve, killed it, and, well, there you go. A good portion of your face no longer works. So upon further investigation, people determined Carranza was allegedly performing dental work without a license on Heckscher Avenue in Bayshore, and had previously operated an illegal dental business in Huntington Station. So she just moved and set up shop again, you know. Well, Commissioner Catalina said, I think everyone knows it's not really fun to go to the dentist. So you can only imagine what this experience was like for her patients. Oh, yeah, I bet it hurt, except it hurt at first, and then the poor patient lost all feeling in part of their face. But anyway, Catalina alleges Carranza targeted the Hispanic community, people who didn't have health insurance, and those who might be in the country illegally. The police commissioner asked other possible victims to come over as they continue the investigation. Authorities executed a search warrant at a Bayshore home on March 13th and arrested Carranza. She faces 3 counts of unauthorized practice of a profession. So, look, she just had a dream about being a dentist, but she just didn't want to bother with all that school stuff and getting licensed, That stuff costs money, But I guess a few details she wasn't really all that up to snuff on, And, well, now there's a paralyzed face out there somewhere, And, well, what are you going to do? I don't know. Probably going to drool a lot and stuff, But it's all her fault. She should have, followed the rules or something. Of course, that bit about illegal aliens and whatnot, see, that's the problem. They can't come forward because then ICE might find out where they are, So there could be more victims of Miss Carranza. But I don't know. I guess you really got to check the credentials of a dentist, I suppose. Maybe that's the lesson. Saint Ranger says, howdy all. Hi, Doug. It's good to see you on tonight, Mr. Nailsin. Well, thanks, Saint Ranger. It's good to stream. It's better than other things I was doing, but man, am I beat. Oh, boy, that took a toll on me. It's sad to say and really embarrassing to admit, but God, I really am aging rapidly. Whew. Pell Dr. Zell? I don't get it, but sure, why not? Pell it wasn't safe. No. I mean, it's interesting that it's like usually with some of these things when it's some, flim-flam operation or whatever, it's like, oh, you end up with some sort of infection and all that. Of course, that can happen in the most professional of places, but here it's just like she just stabbed some patient's nerve in their jaw, and well, that's it. You're just sort of damn it, stroke. No, well, a stroke of a sort, a dental stroke. So yeah, it's all very sad, but what are you gonna do? Well, she's gonna go to prison, that's what. So let me clean up my board of stories here so that we can move on to the next one. Oh, boy, I know you can't wait. Oh, boy. Of course, let me check. Yeah, let me go ahead and turn the camera off because it's rather pointless. Texas man allegedly pushed deceased woman's body in stroller. Well, I guess it's not as bad as a wheelbarrow, So here he is. I just wanted to walk with her one more time. Authorities identified and arrested a person of interest after a woman's body was found in an alley last week. According to the Amarillo Police Department, on March 11th, officers responded to the area near Center Avenue and Alabama Street, where they found Elizabeth Duckworth, deceased and wrapped in plastic. Well, like Laura Palmer. Officials did not say how she died, but called Duckworth's death suspicious. Oh, yeah? What was the first clue? Investigators identified 67-year-old Ronald Miles as a person of interest in the case and asked for the public's help in finding him. Witnesses also allegedly saw the victim's body being placed in a stroller and pushed around the neighborhood in the area of 6th Avenue and South Georgia Street. On March 13th, police said Miles had been located, interviewed, and booked into the Randall County Detention Center for a separate charge. And by separate, I'm assuming they mean completely separate, like some other crime that doesn't involve Miss Duckworth at all. Otherwise, then, oh, you're a person of interest for, dumping a corpse in the alley or whatever. But separately, you're wanted on the charge of murdering Miss Duckworth. No, I don't think that's the case. But boy, not a lot of details here, huh? No. So he put her in a stroller and just started walking around with her, and then decided, well, I guess the fresh air isn't going to do the trick. So wrapped her up in some plastic and dumped her in an alley. But also no details. How did she die? Was there any trauma or anything like that? They just say, hey, we found a body wrapped in plastic. That looks suspicious. So, well, sooner or later, I guess they'll get to it. I mean, they basically busted him on some other charge, and somebody said, hey, that's the guy who was pushing Duckworth around in a stroller. All right. I guess they'll look into it. Boy, let's hope they get to the bottom of that one, huh? Because, as they said, it looks suspicious. Pale says, Marathon the movie, the evil. Oh, yes. Yeah. Damn it. What was his name? God, he was one of these actors. Damn it. I hate to say it, but he played Zeus in Clash of the Titans. It's a name I should know, but it's just not there for the moment. But anyway, yeah, Marathon Man, and he was just drilling into the nerve of Dustin Hoffman. Yeah, I suppose if he kept, now right into the tooth, I don't know. But I guess maybe that's what this woman did. She was drilling into this guy's tooth. I guess going to do a filling for a cavity, but just went right in and just, no, it won't hurt no more. Yeah, but so Dr. Zell, he'd ask if it was safe, then do root canals with no med. Right. Well, it wasn't like he was saving money on the anesthetic. No. This was torture to get the information out of Dustin Hoffman. Yeah. Jeez, of all the means of torture, But it's really hard to go to the dentist after that, isn't it? Because even though, they'll deaden everything, but then it's that part, they gotta inject you, and it's like this, the thinnest amount of skin in your gums, where that needle's got to go in. Holy crap, that hurts. Then the aftermath, you walk out and but kind of sluggish and whatnot. But then eventually, oh boy, it starts waking up, and it's like, what the hell happened? Well, you kind of got the crap beat out of you while you were asleep. And good Lord, man. I mean, I remember the last time I had a wisdom tooth pulled. I was sick for 2 days after that. Yeah, I was much younger then, too. I just always been messed up, Nothing works right. There's always a problem. Why am I even here? Anyway, blah, 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 blah. St. Ranger, they are withholding details they know. St. Ranger Marathon Man was a great picture. Yeah, it was. Yes, but is it safe? Yeah. See? And the guy's like, what are you talking about? Yeah. Ended up causing brain damage. But he was really good at math, and his brother Tom Cruise took him to Vegas, and they made a killing there. So, it worked out, So don't feel too bad. There is a happy ending to it all. The giggle, tee, giggle, giggle. Bloop, bloop. 3 arrested after man found running in the middle of the road, gagged with hands bound behind his back. God damn, someone let the gimp go. Here's our suspects. That is the crappiest mugshot, if it's a mugshot. I don't. Usually that's like he's still at large, but I think they got them all. Yeah. And she's like, I just woke up. Anyway, authorities recently arrested 3 suspects after a man was allegedly kidnapped, beaten, and held captive. According to a news release from the Maryland State Police, on the morning of March 10th, troopers responded to the area of 1400 Conowingo Road to a report of a man with his hands bound behind his back running down the middle of the road. He was also gagged. Apparently wasn't naked, though, so you got that. The victim claimed he had been assaulted and held against his will, but he was able to escape because he had been left unattended that morning. The victim allegedly said he was kidnapped after offering to help fix his girlfriend's brother's car on March 9th. The unnamed man reportedly sustained multiple injuries, including a possible broken eye socket. Yeesh. And had to be flown to the R. Adams Cowley Shock Trauma Center. Boy, that's a mouthful there, you tell the ambulance, where are we going? We're going to the R. Adams Cowley Shock Trauma. Never mind, he's dead. Oh. According to WMAR, the victim identified the primary suspect as 48-year-old Chris Cochran. Police also named 38-year-old Grace Johnson and 48-year-old Leland Lewis as suspects in the case. Johnson and Lewis allegedly witnessed the victim being held, but didn't alert law enforcement. So Leland Lewis is the main culprit here? Or no, Chris Cochran. So wait, Grace Johnson. Oh, Lewis and Johnson were the ones who walked in, saw this dude bound and gagged and thought, look at that, and then left. But Cochran has something going on here. I don't know what his involvement is with this guy's girlfriend's brother and his car. Maybe Cochran's like, I can fix that car. I don't need you. I'll teach you to come try to fix that car. I guess that's how it unfolded. I don't know. Cochran faces charges of kidnapping, first and second degree assault, and false imprisonment. Well, it wasn't false. He actually did it. Giggle, tee. Both Johnson and Lewis have been charged with false imprisonment and first and second degree assault. So they participated in all this. I thought you just said they saw it. And said, oh, well. Whatever. Lewis faces an additional charge of reckless endangerment. So Lewis faces it. I thought the way it's worded here, it makes it sound like Cochran's the main guy, but then Lewis, I don't know. He just said, hey, let me get in on this, and started beating the guy. I don't know which one. That's Lewis, obviously Grace. Well, yeah, we'll go with that. And Cochran, who has the worst picture here. But which one broke the eye socket? Well, maybe there'll be an update. We'll get to the bottom of this one. But pretty weird. Yeah. But again, it could have been worse. Like I said, he could have been butt naked running down the road. And you don't want to be kidnapped and bound and gagged and get your eye socket broken. But when you finally escape and you get help, you don't want to be naked. It's like, damn it, haven't I suffered enough? So anyway, Saint Ranger, I need my bottle of clove. Marathon Man is one of the movies that glorified the 1911. I have three 1911s. That movie shows the 1911 at its best. There was a red and black in hot water 1911 for sale. Pell Mr. Bad Wrench. uh all right, we'll just keep going. What's the next one? Hopefully something real. Oh, wait. Yeah. Okay, thanks for your story. Good luck with the case on kidnapping and torturing some guy over some girl's brother's car. I don't know. Okay. Well, might as well turn that off. Yeah. Here we go. Oh boy. It's always sad when a relationship ends, but maybe we can learn something. Illinois woman pleads guilty to intentionally running over her husband. I was mad. A woman will spend 2 decades behind bars for intentionally running over her husband last year. According to the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office, Melissa Howes pleaded guilty on March 11th to first-degree murder, an aggravated DUI involving a death. So imagine she was drunk, but still fully intentional. So I guess the alcohol is not going to be that good of an excuse. And apparently it wasn't. As part of her plea, Howes agreed to 20 years in the Illinois Department of Corrections. On the evening of September 2nd, 2024, deputies responded to a Dollar General parking lot to a report of a pedestrian hit by a car. At the scene, authorities learned Howes struck her husband, 49-year-old Jeffrey Howes, with his vehicle. Boy, that's about right, isn't it? His own damn car, truck, whatever. Yeah, that's an extra fuck you in that little activity. Deputies and emergency personnel attempted life-saving measures, but Jeffrey Howes was pronounced deceased when he was transported to a hospital. You see, that almost makes it sound like they brought him to the hospital already dead, in the hospital. What do you want us to do? He's dead. Oh. I assume they were, CPR, all that stuff on the way in the ambulance. And then they was like, well. The sheriff's office said evidence of alcohol impairment was observed with Melissa, and she was arrested and intentionally, I keep going back to the title of this, initially booked into the Jefferson County Justice Center. You mean jail. So anyway, sure, she was drunk, but she was so pissed off and mad at her husband, she ran him over. It's not like she was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm trying to get home. So drunk, sure, but not drunk enough. And even so, it'd be like, you got behind the wheel while intoxicated. So she'd still have to do some, probably of that amount. But it's first-degree murder, so hell, I would have thought it'd be 30 at least, Yeah. Yeah. How old is she? Does it say? It didn't say, Melissa. It doesn't say. I mean, he was 49. Yeah. She looks older than that. So maybe there was an age gap there, and he had probably fooling around with, some woman in her 40s. And she got pissed off, drunk, and ran him over with his own vehicle. Yeah. Well, and I was going to say enjoy your stay, but that's not really the point, is it? I'd say no. And I would hope not. Okay. Mr. Badritz, Pell asked St. Ranger in 1911, the gun. My son just bought one, and he loves it. He says it's the gun that won 2 world wars. Pell, I was married. I can see that. Well, there is a thin, ever so thin line between love and hate. Mm. And a lot of times, pure, raw hatred requires some love because the passion required to fuel both emotions must be there. And so, of course, when some asshole you never really liked screws you over, sure, you're pissed, you don't like him, you hate him even. But when someone you love screws you over, oh boy, holy shit, there's nothing worse than treason, you know. St. Ranger, it did. I had a Colt 1917 and a Springfield Armory from 1911 and a 10 millimeter Colt Delta Elite. Good guns, reliable. That's the thing, a lot of the stories from the wars, they'd show up with the guns and they all jammed. In fact, that was a World War I story. They were like the French were insisting that they use their weapons and they weren't as good. Something of that nature. I forget. But, these things happen. And, boy, it's really a bad state of affairs when you're being shot at and everything and you try to return fire. And it's just a stick at that point, St. Ranger, Typo Springfield is 1984 model. What did you say? Springfield, oh, 1911. Okay. Pell, she looks like actress Jerry Ryan if she had a bad life. Yeah. Jerry Ryan's still pretty, She's older and everything. They wanted to do that Star Trek Legacy show, and I know there's a lot of people just got really way overblown and wowed by Picard season 3. And of course, it had a good bit of the elements is what they should have done with the Picard show. But they did those first 2 first, and they were shit stains. Terrible. And then this one's still connected to that. Plus, there was plenty of stupid on its own. I know they didn't have any money, so that's why the lights were off and through the set and everything. But they would have been in much better shape if that had been the season 1 of Picard, because that's all anyone wanted was a Next Generation reunion. And that's pretty much what you get. So you get that, but the plot was stupid. There were some elements that were interesting, kind of cool. But Vulcan Mafia guys, and the Borg again. Oh, the Dominion War, which didn't really involve Picard at all, but, it's in the same realm of whatever. So after all of that, then it ends with, 7 of 9 is captain of the new Enterprise. And then Picard Jr. is like her little boy that she bosses around. He's got a maybe possible girlfriend and LaForge's daughter. Then, of course, 7 of 9 is now magically a lesbian. So her girlfriend, the 2 of them are in command of the ship. The 2 mommies that are going to boss their little naughty boy, throughout that. I don't want to see that. They should have kept that crew lined up for the Titan with the asshole captain, him and 7 and 9, because they didn't particularly like each other, but there's a grudging respect because they're both skilled. That makes a more interesting dynamic. If you want her to be a lesbian, then she can have her girlfriend on the ship too, but that would have been a more interesting dynamic. And then, Picard's the younger guy, Picard Jr., and might have had something. I don't know. Maybe not. Geez. Not enough to wow me, and I don't care to see any Star Trek. You know what you need to do in Star Trek? Scrap everything. Forget about prequels and hanging on to old properties and all that sort of stuff. Star Trek is one of those where you have a starship. It's on a mission in deep space. Go. It's a brand new crew. You go. There's reference to the past and all that, of course, but that's all there is, Otherwise, all it is just trappings and, oh, look, that's the thing. Remember, yeah, the member berry. That's all it is. And that's not plot and narrative even, you know, it's just furniture. Okay, my son got his yeah, Jerry Ryan, Pell L at St. Ranger. My son got his permit a little less than a year ago. He's got a Glock, a Ruger, and just about the 1911. That's how I know. Oh, bought the 1911. Pell L only saw season 1 of Picard. Yeah, well, you have my condolences. Yeah. That's another thing, Picard is dead. That's just a facsimile of him continuing on in the others. I'll give you a brief thing of the plot of season 2. Basically, Q came back and was doing all kind of Q stuff. Since Poopy Goldberg was too fat to play herself as a younger version, even with modern technology, which they probably couldn't afford anyway. They had to get another actress who looks nothing like her, even though in the old show, they showed her and Picard meeting in the Civil War days, or no, maybe a little after, because they met Mark Twain, so it was a little bit later than the Civil War. But anyway, so she looks the same. She's supposed to be this immortal alien, whatever, the stupid shit like that. But ultimately, the plot was, what was Q doing? Well, it turns out immortal, omnipotent Q is dying. And before he died, he just wanted Picard to get laid. And there's this Romulan maid living with him, and she's obviously got a crush on him, and despite his age and everything. And he said, just go for it. Nail that Romulan bitch. So Picard's like, oh, all right. And there you go, the end. Then the next season, he hears Dr. Beverly Crusher's in trouble and missing. So he dumps that girlfriend and runs after Beverly. So the first 5 minutes of the show. So, pretty stupid. Huh? Anyway, Pella, woke. 7 of 9 is a lesbian. Is Picard's kid black? Surprisingly, no. But then again, I'm not sure how they would explain that, because he's the son that he had with Beverly. They finally had their romance, but then they broke up or some crap. But then as a result of that, she got pregnant and pooped out this kid who magically has an English accent as well. That's not how that works. But nevertheless, there you go. Her second son is the son she had with Picard. But she just didn't tell him. Now, amazingly enough, again, they did have this argument between the two of them, and he was all pissed off. You should have told me. I had a right to know. And normally you would think they would orchestrate it where, no, she was right not to tell him, and you're an asshole because you're a man and all that sort of stuff. But they didn't. So I was impressed with that little tidbit, But no, he was not black. He was white. I mean, considering both parents were white, but then again, you'd have to, how stupid is Picard if she's, oh, this is your son. Some black kid. Anyway, in 7 of 9, they magically made 7 of 9 a lesbian, even though there was no hint of that at all. And, the Voyager show. Pell, I agree. That's why I like Chris Pine reboot. Well, look, I like the cast of those movies. That was cool. The first one I do like. It's got its problems, but it's a fun movie. That's a good one. Into Darkness is crap. I don't care for that at all. Again, it was just sad to watch the cast have to go through that piece of shit. Star Trek Beyond is better than that. And the franchise would have been in a better shape if that had been their second movie, but it wasn't. And, but it, not as good as the first one, So anyway, there you go. And then after that, you had STD, and oh my God, it's just been nothing since. Hey, a couple of cool scenes and episodes of Picard season 3, and then what else? Oh, Strange New Worlds, which is really familiar old worlds because they really haven't gone anywhere new, and it's a tad better than STD. That's about it. Still connected to it. And then mostly wasted episodes and weird, stupid conundrums and stuff in it. And And then Captain Pike, which the whole thing, Anson Mount playing Pike and STD, people, they liked it. He's leading man material. He could anchor a show if you let him and stuff like that. So they've been, let's give him his own show. So they do, except he's just in the kitchen barbecuing all the time. There's one episode they did, it was the Lotus Eaters, I think they called it. And that one is almost an actual Star Trek episode. And he actually gets to be the captain in that. So out of 2 seasons, you get one. Now, we'll give them that the Captain Kirk and Lady Khan time travel episode wasn't bad, but just the idea of Lady Khan being around. I mean, I wish they would have made her someone else. The actress is fine. And actually, she did a pretty good job in that particular episode. But it was also interesting because they made a big deal about the cartoon revealing that STD is an alternate timeline and all this stuff. But that episode with Lady Khan and Kirk revealed the whole thing. Yeah, it's all alternate timelines. It doesn't fit with the original Star Trek, but you can just look at it. That's right. It doesn't. So there's that, but there's still bad shows, You got to be good. Saint Ranger says exactly. New interesting crew with interesting missions, like when Star Trek started in the 60s. Yeah, that's what you got to do. And it's hard. They just want to slap a brand name on something so they can lazily slap job crap in there and then try to defend it with skin and genitals and all that nonsense. And think that's somehow going to shame an audience into watching it. No, it doesn't work that way. And stuff like Star Trek, it's not just the shows themselves that sells advertising and whatnot. They have the potential of selling merchandise. And when it's successful, it will do that. And that's a whole other cash cow that comes into it. And you need it because it's expensive to do shows like that. They haven't succeeded in any of that. And, that's a problem, But, yeah, your best bet. And I come back to Star Trek because it's the easiest one to do. The others, they've got all kind of narrative problems with them. But with Star Trek, you can just skip ahead, new crew, new ship, all that, and just go and just ignore the dumb shit. If you're not going to actually do a narrative, but the multiple timeline shit, you can just state it and then move on. You don't need a big crossover show to explain it all and all that bullshit. No, you just do a new one. There you go. But you got to have somebody who knows how to write. You got to have some actual science fiction backgrounds into it and all that and come up with a plot. That's new and refreshing and whatnot. But the template, yeah, you can still use it. Will it happen? Unlikely. And if they're really believing this legacy thing, am I extremely dubious on that. Nodak, LOL, Poopy Goldberg. Yes. Nodak, hit the like button. You're right, Nodak. People should. Pell, those 2 chesty Klingon sisters were hot. Well, maybe the chest, but I mean, that shit on their face and those teeth. Well, to each their own. Pell, hey, Nodak. Howdy, Pell, isn't that the same thoughts with Kirk's son, David? She kept him away. Yeah, but and that's another thing. They basically decided, hey, let's do Wrath of Khan with Picard. And it's like, they got no ideas. They really don't. And so, yeah, they did steal that. However, with Kirk and his son, he knew about the son. They agreed she said she didn't, she's going to raise the child. He was pursuing his career in Starfleet. And she said, well, I'd rather, if you're not going to be here, I'd rather you not be there at all. And this sort of thing, something of that nature. And that's their conversation. He said, I did what you asked. I stayed away. And her main thing was that she didn't want her son to be him. She didn't want him to go off in dangerous missions and all that. And she feared that if he did meet his father, he might be drawn into it. And lo and behold, what happens in the next movie? Well, he decides to pick a fight with the Klingon and trying to protect Savick and gets murdered. So, oh boy, you just can't cheat fate, So, but in that instance, it's different in the sense that, Carol Marcus didn't lie to Kirk or anything. He knew, and he agreed to stay out of David's life. He finally gets to meet him, gets to know him a little bit. It's difficult at first, but they come together at the end after he suffers the loss of Spock and all that. And then loses him in the next movie. Gets Spock back, blows up his ship, everything, you know. So, yeah. So, yeah, sure, different, but the templates of a plot, yeah, they just ripped it off completely. Plus, they were somebody was, and they were pretty. The guy doing the music for the show is pretty good. He was able to copy the elements of James Horner and Jerry Goldsmith in it and filled that out. Of course, Jerry Goldsmith, the theme to Next Generation, they do have that and own it, but just for soundtrack purposes. And you could hear a lot of influence there from James Horner and whatnot. So, you know, it had some cool elements to it, but nowhere near the high praise that it received. Even before it came out, there were people who had seen it before it was released and they were going on about it. So I'm like, oh, wow, well, then let's see here. And I'm like, this, you know, no, you got to do a lot more than this to fix the massive damage done to the brand. They didn't. They really didn't. Pell, I've had worse looking than those two. Oh, the Klingon chicks. Well, okay. I understand. Well, I mean, I probably shouldn't. Well, I did. St. Ranger 1960 Star Trek had some outstanding writers, including novices who became famous by writing plot submissions for the show. Yeah, that's true. Plus, it's one of these things that people keep coming to the conclusion, and you can't help but go along. I mean, I think it's largely true, is that the experience and life experiences that writers had back then are far more broad and in depth than writers today. Writers today are learning from the written work of writers before them and watching television and film. Sure, you can learn a lot from that, but you also got to have a life of your own. But of course, even though they're still going to lose out to the older writers because they're limited, these are people who had served in the war and stuff like that, and that's going to go a long way. Quite a few of them had military backgrounds. Gene Roddenberry, of course, did. He was in the Navy, so obviously, you know, you get a lot of those elements in Star Trek and stuff like that. And this repeats across the board. You know, through the television movies and the comic books were like that. All that stuff, they all served and had experiences with that. Some of whom, at least, if not, certainly not in their adult years, but certainly as children, were aware of the depression and stuff like that in those days. Whereas their children, the baby boomers, were the first pampered children. You know, where society catered to them. You know, that's, like I said, rock and roll and cartoons and stuff are really coming into fruition, geared and targeted to them. So a lot of attention and whatnot when it came time to be an adult. Oh, I don't want to do that. And it's pretty much been that way ever since, you know. But when you go back and look at comparatively, and especially this, yeah, they're borrowing from previous legends and myths and stuff like that, and all of that, but still their own presentation and what they glean from their own lives gives a more richness to the overall pursuit of plot and story and whatnot. And when it's not there, it shows, you know. So that's why you get a gobbledygook of just blatant stolen stuff. I mean, there's genre, there's always going to be some amount of repetition, but you got to have some skill to navigate it where it's still entertaining or where it's got some freshness to it. And we're pretty much at the bottom of the barrel with talent, albeit easily, arguably done manipulatively through this weird woke era we've been through, which came at the absolute worst possible time for the entertainment industry. But it did, and they welcomed it in and actively indulged it to their detriment. So, but still, it's like, well, how do you get life experience? Well, you can't really. You're just going to have to glean from what you're existing in now. But it's a point to be made, and it goes a long way explaining why things were better in their own right, despite lack of technology and productions values that you have now, which are far superior in a lot of ways. But nevertheless, the original take on stories and whatnot. Well, there's a source for that. St. Ranger, have you heard the story about Gene Roddenberry going to a network to describe his show? They had meetings where they took notes. They then ignored him and released Lost in Space. Yeah, that does sound familiar. Some of that. I know he pitched it initially as a Western in outer space, a wagon train to the stars, he called it. And I don't know if that would sound like he was pitching it to different networks, because I can't remember which network Lost in Space was on. Because Star Trek was initially on NBC, so I guess Lost in Space was on one of the others, and they took that one. Now, Lost in Space, it's weird. Everyone says this because it's true. That first season of Lost in Space is very different. The Dr. Smith character is a much more sinister character, stuff like that. It's the black and white season of Lost in Space, and then it becomes this silly. I mean, I would say almost cartoon, but cartoons are better. That it had some charming elements to it here and there, but I mean, Star Trek beats that every day. I mean, so yeah, it's possible that's probably true. That the story is they bet on Lost in Space and then decided to shift gears and let's make Dr. Smith the whole story, and pissed off the rest of the cast. And well, there you go. But yeah, Star Trek was shopped around. If it wasn't for Lucille Ball and her Desilu Studios, it never would have taken off. But she got wind of it, checked it out, liked it. And they did that first pilot with Jeffrey Hunter as Captain Pike. And it's a good episode. And the interesting thing about the pilots, and they ended up doing a second one with William Shatner, but which was unusual that you would get a second shot, another pilot. But when you look at those two, you could tell that they had more money for those pilots than they did for the rest of the series. But nevertheless, that's what happened. And they couldn't get Jeffrey Hunter back because he wanted more money and probably didn't want to be committed to a television series, as movies seemed to be beckoning for him. I think they pursued Jack Lord at one point, but he wanted too much money. And William Shatner, I think they had him in mind from the get-go, but he was unavailable as he was on some other television series. Well, that one got canceled, so he was available, and so they managed to snatch him up for Captain Kirk, and the rest is history. But yeah, they owe it all to Lucille Ball. Joe Lamont made it in for the Nailsin News. Yeah, and I only have one more story which I'll get to, but I got distracted by Star Trek, you understand. Nodak Lost in Space was on CBS. There you go. Okay, so CBS turned down Star Trek. NBC picked it up via Lucille Ball's company. And there you go. Nodak, I didn't mind the Netflix Lost in Space. I've heard that. I go back and forth with that. I haven't watched. I guess I eventually will. Because then I was like, oh, they're gender swapping Dr. Smith, which, I always did kind of like Parker Posey, though. But nevertheless, yeah, I'll have to check it out. Speaking of that, there is a plan afoot with Akiva Goldsman setting up and rebooting the other Irwin Allen science fiction shows. That would be Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, The Planet of the Giants, which I think I saw it much later. Hell, that might have even been on maybe Sci-Fi Channel or MeTV. I can't remember. But never really got into that. But Time Tunnel, I did see quite a bit of. but Time Tunnel's the third one. And so they want to reboot all those in their own shared universe. So then, like, Lost in Space was the most famous of the Irwin Allen sci-fi television shows. Of course, he went on for doing the disaster movies and stuff. But so Lost in Space, I guess, won't be considered part of that. But even if you did, I don't know, they might have some character crossover, meet them, and then they go off into space and get lost. So you never see or hear from them again. So there wouldn't be much point of keeping them in the shared universe. But I just don't see much success coming from that. I could be wrong, but I don't know. The Planet of the Giants, I don't know. And then Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, which is essentially trying to be Star Trek underwater, which Sequest tried to do later on, you know. And then Time Tunnel, well, it's a time travel show. They go to different points in history, and George Washington could have died, but our time travelers managed to save him. The end, you know. So they'll probably do that. Except, I guess, I don't know. It is more times than not, it seems the woke era is over. So he's like, hey, are the two time travelers going to be gay lovers or something? You know, maybe, I don't know. Or they go back in time and find out all our heroes were gay. You know? Or at the very least, a woman was behind everything. Nodak, somehow the 90s Lost in Space movie was worse than the 60s TV show. Well, yeah. But it had Mimi Rogers and the roller skate girl, Heather Graham. But they didn't get naked. No. Anyway, who would have thought Joey from Friends and a terrible CGI monkey couldn't save it? Yeah, well, what you gonna do? And then Dr. Smith turned into, what was he, a spider monster or some crap? Yeah, it's pretty. So, the original series can say, phew. Hey, look, we're better than that crap. So, you know, and, you know, who's going to argue the point? Not I. No. Let me do this. Okay, let's go ahead and wrap up Nailsin News. And I, of course, saved the best for last. Oh, Pell the Time Traveler is a trans, and the older time people mistake it for a monster and kills it. Good Lord. Yeah, he comes like, I'm from the future. Oh, my God. Yeah, all right, here we are. Illinois teacher and soccer coach accused of having sexual relationship with 15-year-old student. Yeah, another one of these. Well, all right. Look, she's not looking her best. It's a mugshot. But, he dolled her up and everything. So, a 30-year-old teacher has been arrested for allegedly having an extremely disturbing sexual relationship with a student when he was 15 years old. Well, just having a 30-year-old having a sexual relationship with a 15-year-old, isn't that disturbing enough? This makes it sound like, oh, there's more elements to it than that. Okay. The DuPage County State's Attorney's Office and Downers Grove Police Department announced Monday, March 17th, that Christina Formella was being charged with one count of criminal sexual assault and one count of aggravated criminal sexual abuse. According to the statement, Formella, who was also the victim's soccer coach, allegedly sexually assaulted the student during a tutoring session. Well, okay, but what was the subject? Before school. Oh, was it officially in class? Well, it was a tutoring session, though. Anyway, in December 2023, the boy, she's a soccer coach. I thought, all right. Okay, I didn't know they let female coaches on boys soccer team. Anyway, the boy and his mother reported the incident to Downers Grove. All right, the mother reported it. Police on March 15th after she discovered text messages. There you go. Police took Formella into custody on March 16th after conducting a traffic stop. Wait, so she ran a red light too? Good Lord. According to court documents, the victim's mother bought her son a new phone, probably for Christmas. And when she signed into iCloud, the text appeared between the victim and Formella. In one message, the student allegedly wrote, "I love you so much, Mama." Oh, jeez. Oh, jeez. Your own mother sees you say that. Formella reportedly responded, "I love you so much, baby." See, she put an emphasis on that, you know. That means I love you more. She added, even though this morning was short, God, it was perfect. Oh, jeez. The student allegedly said it was perfect, baby. So perfect. Well, Formella and the teen allegedly began messaging each other over a year ago. And she reportedly wrote about him in her notes app. Formella, however, allegedly claimed the notes were an outlet for her anxiety. Yeah, teaching and all that stuff, and in whatever career you're in, oh boy, work can be stressful, and then there's all the other elements of life and whatnot. So good Lord, the anxiety can really build up, and you need an outlet like a hobby or something like that. And some people flirt with underage kids, that's all. The principal at the school wrote in a letter that Formella was placed on administrative leave with pay during the investigation. Well, that'll teach her. She began working with the school in 2020 in the Special Services Department. And as a volunteer soccer coach. Boy, she saw all those boys, and she was like, I got to get on this. And, well, she did. In 2021, she joined the staff for both the girls and boys soccer teams. But she really didn't spend that much time with the girls, DuPage County State's Attorney Robert Berlin called the allegations extremely disturbing. It is alleged that she used her position of trust and authority as a tutor and a coach to actually assault a minor student. The type of abuse and behavior alleged in this case will not be tolerated. So they arrested her, and now she sits at home watching Netflix while getting paid. That's one of the perks of being a teacher. But once she's convicted, especially if, she's got to get convicted, Yeah, there's all these messages and whatnot. But good Lord, if there's photos and videos, well, what's her name again? Formella. But what's the first name? Christina. Well, Christina, I can understand the sad face. Boy, yeah, I think I messed up. Well, I can guarantee you did, Formella, Miss Formella, Christina, whatever. But, whatever. I don't know. I guess you can teach soccer at the prison or something. I don't know. But, yeah. Oops, not that one. The camera. There it is. Oh, there I am. Most schools frown on that. Yes. I possibly misunderstood the terms of "you're going to be in our Special Services Department." The principal thought, for him, but Pell-El, the time oh yeah, I did that one. Pell-El, looking at the evidence, I'll say she's not guilty. Well, look, we always do this because we're always thinking, wow, imagine the teacher looking like that, saying, hey, Doug, you want to come over? Yeah. Yeah, but you just can't do things like that. Now, of course, he reversed the genders and it's death penalty, and that's the way it is. I accept that. I do. Anyway, there we go. Oh boy, we've learned a lot about the world. You get the news. All they want to talk about is Trump battling, crazy judges who think they control the world or something. Want to operate planes? I don't know. Whatever. But what about the important news and items that you need reportage and analysis on that everyone's missing? Well, thank God for Mr. Nailsin. Hey, that's me. And I broadened your knowledge of the world with these criminal crimes. Yeah, they're crimes. And when perpetrated, they're almost always perpetrated by a criminal. I know. He's like, how does he think up this? I know. But I also know we can't all be me. Pell-El, kid's mom sounds like a real jerk. I'd tell my mom to stay out of my lifer. Well, she's probably only facing 20 years. And I mean, that'll cut down to 10, and with good behavior, 5. So not a lifer. I know, you meant life. Anyway, but, he's living in her house, her rules. He's just a kid. She bought the phone, so it's like, hey, buddy, you're going to have to get a jib. Man, at least she wasn't pregnant. That happens. So then, look at that. In some of these instances, I mean, because this kid was 15, still bad. But at least he wasn't 11 like that previous story. And, of course, the old original Eterno, that kid was 11. But 11 years old, I'm not even certain. But anyway, I mean, it continued on for several years. But you get to the point where the kid could possibly be a senior in high school with his baby attending school. Maybe even they're on the same school bus. Anyway, hey, isn't that hilarious? Oh, man. Criminal crimes, huh? That's some comedy there. Well, anyway, thanks for watching and listen to me ramble on about these sick, sad people that should make you feel good because, I mean, whatever you're going through, life's hard sometimes. At least you're not these people, huh? See? There's a point to all of this. Indeed. But anyway, we'll do it again tomorrow night, I guess. Or maybe, I don't know. I haven't heard from Pat about Crime Report, and I got nothing. I might have to just clip this stuff and make that the Nailsin Show. Because I guess I could have just skipped the live stream and taped those. They won't work because I'm talking about the imagery and stuff. So they work as videos, but not as Nailsin News. And there's no way I'm going to be able to tape another episode of Bubba Stargone so, damn. Yeah, I'm just worn out. Holy crap. I don't know. I may not. I was thinking, I probably got another 20 years. I may not. Oh, jeez. I feel terrible. Oh, well, what are you going to do? Nothing. Thanks for the show, Doug. You're welcome, Nodak. Thanks for showing up and watching and all that good stuff. Again, yeah, we'll do it again soon. Have a good night. Oh, Saint Ranger, hit the like button for Doug. He earned it. Yes, that's right. Thank you, Saint Ranger. I did. I read those stories, and almost all of them were horrible things. and yet I did it. I did.
Killers, killing it. Nailsin News. Where all the money go? Ain't nobody gonna know. Do you trust your meat to take a walk down the street? While killers be killing. Nailsin News. Where all the money go? Ain't nobody gonna know. Do you trust your meat to take a walk down the street while killers be killing? Nailsin News.
Please wrap up.
Look at me!
Okay, we're all done here.
Fucking
Hey,
pathetic!
no, we're all done. Come on.